Hey everybody, this is Christina and I'm here to help you boost your Russian. In today's lesson, you learn when you shouldn't say in Russian "Я БУДУ". It looks like an easy phrase, but there is a catch. In some situations, when you say "Я БУДУ", it sounds very confusing and doesn't make any sense to native Russian speakers. It's a very common mistake and you probably make it. I invited a fellow Russian teacher, Anastasia, from the channel Arus Pro to teach you how to use this phrase correctly. Anastasia is amazing at explaining Russian grammar. There are lots of interesting lessons on her channel where she explains confusing Russian words and difficult Russian grammar points in a very simple way. When you watch this lesson, go to her channel, subscribe and watch other lessons. The link is in the description. You will not regret it because you will learn so much from her excellent videos. Okay, now let's watch her explanations about when you should and shouldn't say "Я БУДУ" in Russian.
If you have already studied the future tense in Russian, you certainly know that the future tense is formed with the help of the verb быть, which is the equivalent of to be in English. For example, что ты будешь делать в выходные? У меня в понедельник экзамен. Так что в выходные я буду готовиться. So in these examples, the future tense is performed by the formula быть in the future, будешь and буду, plus the basic form of the verb or the infinitive of the verb. So literally we are kind of saying you will to do, infinitive. I will to prepare, which is of course the equivalent of I will prepare, you will do. So when students learn this, they typically start using "Я буду" as the equivalent of "I will" in all the situations. However, when you promise something in Russian, so when you use "I will" in the context of promise, you will not use "Я буду", you will use the perfective form of the verb. So let's take a look. For example, your girlfriend asks you to call her, and you want to say "I will". So she says, позвони мне, call me. And you will say, хорошо, позвоню. So here, позвоню is a special form, it's a perfective form of the verb звонить, позвонить, to call. And it also translates into English as I will call in the context of promise. So, do not use "Я буду" in this context, use the perfective form, and you will sound more Russian-like. Let's take a look at more examples. Напиши мне. Хорошо, напишу. Отправь мне ссылку. Конечно, отправлю. Посмотри этот фильм. Посмотрю. Прочитай эту статью. Очень интересно. Обязательно прочитаю. Поищи об этом в интернете. Хорошо, поищу. All these forms are perfective forms. Now, perfective aspect in Russian is a huge topic, so I will not divulge into details in this video. But this context is very common, so if you remember this, you will not say "Я буду" and you will sound more like a Russian speaker. Now, another quick tip. Here you can see the imperative forms of these verbs. Call me, write to me, send me, watch. These are all imperative forms. And you may notice that this form and this form only differs in one letter. Позвони, позвоню. So this is the I form. In the future, this is the imperative form. Напиши, напишу. Отправь, отправлю. Well, here we have an L, but these verbs are not very common. Посмотри, посмотрю. Прочитай, прочитаю. Поищи, поищу. So, you can just add the ya ending, the I ending, instead of the ending of the imperative form that the other person is using to ask you for something. Want to know more about perfective verbs? Subscribe to my channel, and I promise you to make a video lesson on this. I promise you this, and I will say it like this in Russian. Я сделаю видео. So watch my video lessons on YouTube, book some Skype lessons at aruspro.com, practice every day, and you will achieve Russian proficiency in no time.
I hope Anastasia made it very clear for you when you should and shouldn't say Я БУДУ in Russian. If you like this lesson, go to her channel and watch her other videos. You will learn so much from them. Subscribe to her channel and hit that bell sign so that you don't miss her future grammar lessons. Пока-пока!